Osawa Onsen, I just have to mention this. Every April 29th, they've got this just riotous fertility festival. I wanted to make a video of it, but I got roped into helping them, carry a giant wooden phallus around, so I wasn't able to do filming like I had hoped. Hi, this is Quinlan. I get a number of questions from people about Japan and things related to that, and so I wanted to take a minute and address some of them. One question that I got recently from Sven Uphoff was about hot springs. He asked me if I have a favorite hot springs or onsen in Tohoku. Before I get into that, I thought I should explain how I evaluate hot springs. There are three main points about hot springs that I think are important in judging what would be the best one in Tohoku or anywhere. Those are atmosphere, water quality, and facilities. Atmosphere is an obvious one. Even if it was just normal bath water, but it was a huge bath outdoors with rocks ringing it in the middle of the mountains with a meter of snow on all sides and a beautiful view of the landscape in front of you, I think you wouldn't mind that it's just normal bath water. You'd still want to go there. Of course, it'd be better to be high quality water, but atmosphere is just vital. And in the same account, even if it were just the best water, if it was in a sort of concrete and tile basin with a metal fence surrounding you, I don't think you'd be too excited about sitting there for that long. So atmosphere is clearly vital. Okay, so while I find atmosphere to be the most important aspect of hot springs, a very close second is water quality. Now, the water quality of hot springs is determined basically by the path through which the water travels to the surface. Even in one area, there can be rather different hot springs. So when you think about the quality of the water, maybe the most obvious point is the odor, the smell. Does it smell like sulfur or some other mineral very strongly? Some of them have a strong iron smell as well. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the smell of sulfur, that rotten egg sort of thing, but it's not a deal breaker for me either. It's kind of a disadvantage in that even if you rinse yourself off afterwards, you're still basically exuding a sort of sulfur smell from your pores for several hours afterwards, and whatever clothing you put on after the bath is going to smell. You're going to need to wash everything unless you want to smell like you've been to a hot springs for the next 36 hours. The second point, which for me is more important than the smell, is the acidity. Certain hot springs can have a rather strong acidity to them. I prefer alkaline hot springs, one that have a stronger base. Why? Because it's got this silky smoothness to them. The way that our skin pH balance interacts with the alkaline, it really just makes it feel good on your skin. Really just wonderful smoothness. When you're in a good alkaline hot springs, there's no way you would mistake it for normal bath water. It's dramatically different. There's also the clarity of the water. If you're going to a mixed bath, of which there are many here in Tohoku, so you'll be in there with men and women, maybe you prefer something that's cloudy, opaque, so that when you're under the water, you don't have to feel self-conscious because no one will be able to see what you've got under the water. One other point about acidity is that for certain people, and I am one of them, if it's a strongly acidic hot springs, it can actually hurt your skin. In my case, there's a few hot springs I know of where if I don't rinse myself really well with normal tap water afterwards, I get a burn the next day. It's like my skin turns red, sometimes it's almost a little itchy, and it hurts. And so I have to be careful in some of those to really rinse well, or else it stays and it hurts my skin. The final aspect of water quality is the temperature of the water. If it's too hot, you can't stay in for very long. I think what we really enjoy about hot springs is being in the moment, just sitting there in the bath, relaxing. And if the water is so hot, say above 43 degrees Celsius or thereabouts, can't stay in for very long. And so that is kind of a minus point in my book. For me, the sweet spot is around 41 degrees. And finally, facilities. I'm putting facilities as the least important of the aspects, and I believe it is, but for certain people, this will be higher. Now, the range on this is huge. You can go to some hot springs that are in a nice hotel or high-end ryokan, Japanese traditional inn, and in that case, there's a sauna in there. They have really nice showers with great shower heads, high-end shampoo, facial scrubs, and they'll have maybe all sorts of great amenities. On the other hand, some of the really rustic, atmospheric places have absolutely nothing. If you've ever been to a hot springs in Japan, you know that there's usually an area with all these little stools, maybe this high, that you sort of sit on in front of your own little mirror and shower head. Some places don't have any of that. There'll just be like a bucket next to the water, and you are supposed to rinse your body off before you get into the hot springs bath. And instead of sitting and showering yourself off at these really rustic places, just pick up the bucket and, dump it over yourself several times to rinse yourself off while you're standing outside of the bath, and then get in. So when I discuss hot springs, I will rate them on these three aspects: the atmosphere, the water quality, and the level of facilities. For an example, I would like to recommend the very first hot springs that I ever visited upon moving to Japan. That is Osawa Onsen in Hanamaki, Iwate Prefecture. When I first moved to Japan, I was living in Tokyo, but I came just a few weeks after I moved here up to Iwate on a trip, and I went to Osawa Onsen. Osawa Onsen really deserves its own video. It's just an amazing place. It's rather a complex of three inns, three traditional Japanese ryokan, all in one area. So there's, in a way, the facilities vary based on which place you're staying, or if you're a day bather, someone who's just coming, paying, 500-600 yen to take a bath, and then leaving again. For the purposes of this review, I'm going to discuss Osawa Onsen as if you're just visiting to take a bath and not spending the night. Also, Osawa Onsen, I just have to mention this, every April 29th, they've got this just riotous fertility festival. In 2019, before the pandemic, I wanted to make a video of it, but I got roped into helping them, carry a giant wooden phallus around, so I wasn't able to do filming like I had hoped. However, in the peak of this festival, they take a roughly 5.5 foot, maybe a couple meter long, giant wooden phallus, put it into the hot springs, the outdoor hot springs bath, and women hoping to become pregnant that are struggling with fertility straddle it and ride it around the bath, much to the laughter and cheers of the audience. It's something that's taken seriously in that people come and do it hoping for real effects, but they also feel comfortable laughing about it because they can see how awkward and crazy it is. Anyway, forget about that festival. Let me get back into the review. Atmosphere, it's very rustic. Even for the indoor bath, I've got a giant, huge wall-length window and you're looking out at the Toyosawa River. It's gorgeous. There's rocks everywhere. And the outdoor bath, the Rotembro, is just iconic. In fact, they have photos of it up once in a while advertising in Tokyo Station and other stations around Tokyo. It's really gorgeous. You're in this outdoor all-rock bath looking at a river, and in fact there's this thatched roof building right across the river from you with a water wheel. It's really something to behold. I give it 9 out of 10 for atmosphere. In terms of water quality, it is really nice, alkaline, doesn't smell of sulfur, smooth on your skin. However, the hot springs in the outdoor bath is just a little bit too hot for me, and so I'm going to give it water quality 8 out of 10. For the facilities, I'm going to say 6 out of 10 because they have sort of meh shampoo. They do have all the showers and everything you want. However, the fact that you have to dry off, get dressed, and walk a long way to go between the different baths sort of reduces the convenience. And the outdoor bath doesn't have separate showers, and so if you're sitting and cleaning, washing yourself off, you have to do it in full view of people across the river, people walking across a bridge, and people potentially of the opposite sex looking at you. So it's less than ideal. So again, to recap, atmosphere 9, water quality 8, facilities 6. Osawa Hot Springs is fantastic, and after the pandemic is finished, I may go and film a whole video there. I feel like this is long enough, so I'm gonna make a separate video that will follow up on this and maybe list a few of my favorite hot springs. There are just so many great places. Feel free to ask me more questions here. I'm gonna start doing live streams as well. I'll give you a heads up about when I'm gonna do them on Twitter and through the community tab, so make sure that you're subscribed and have the notification setting turned on. And I'd like to thank all of my patrons. It really makes all of this possible. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the trails.